Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are in a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Welcome to WHW Monday. Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson.
Jim Crockett First Arcade, 605 NWA, TV title, Cajun Omni, the Bunkhouse Stampede. Flair and Horseman, Garvin, Bogey, Magnum, Dusty, Express Tag Team, Turner, Bodden, Mid-South Joint World Championship Wrestling.
Talking about the great years of World Championship Wrestling, the NWA and Jim Crockett Promotions.
Tony and Friends North, they win. Look, Schiavone's back again. World title split off, center stage, Bischoff, Disney, Hogan, and Nitro, New World Order, and The Crow. Thunder, Russo, Arquette Champ, Vinnie Mac, simulcast. Tony's back with Conrad, not your classy podcast. Watch along, try not to laugh. Lowest rules, cat back. This wasn't the initial plan. Thompson's a good-looking man. Klondike Bill, make a chant. Tommy, you come over here.
What happened when?
WHW Monday. And now, let's go to the ring. And here's your co-host. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When? With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you?
How are you?
Man, better than I deserve. Happier than a puppy with two Peters, but busier than a one-arm paper hanger. And so excited to be here with you today. We're watching Superstars on the Superstation. And when you and I last recorded, I didn't even realize this was on the network, but it is. It aired February 7th, 1986. For whatever reason, February 1st, 1986 is not on the network. So we called a bit of an audible. Rather than skipping until February 8th, we're going to watch the February 7th special that they've been promoting. You know, the one where they're saying, send us your cards, send us your letters. And then later, don't send a letter. Please just send a card. Who are your dream matches? And it's pretty great when, I had a chance to catch up with Mr. Jim Crockett Jr., and we spent nearly 5 hours shooting a 4K interview that'll air on adfreeshows.com. Once we wrapped, I had lunch brought in, and we had just the old WCW show here playing in the background. And you guys were promoting this pretty hard. What's your dream match? Send us a postcard. Send us a letter. And in between bites of chicken Parmesan, I asked Mr. Crockett, hey, so... He's like, oh yeah, we worked it. And I don't know why, but just the idea. So matter of factly at his advanced age, oh yeah, we worked it. I didn't even have to finish the question. He knew exactly what I was talking about. And this is a pretty fun show. And there's a lot of unique stuff here. It's much different than the Saturday show because you don't have a bunch of enhancement matches. You've got house show quality, big event style matches, right?
Yeah, which was kind of unusual for Jim Crockett to do those days. This is the impact of the Superstation on what we did. Jim Crockett would have never done this, I don't think. And I know you've talked to him. He probably can address this better than I can. But I feel that Jim Crockett Promotions would have never put these type of matches on TV. one of the ways you can tell we worked it was Ronnie Garvin on his promos leading up to this is talking about Ric Flair, and he wrestles Ric Flair on this show.
Right.
The Russians are talking about the Road Warriors, and they wrestle on this show. Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express wrestle on this show. And so if you think that because they're on this special show that it's going to hurt the house show business, you're wrong, because Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express went on in '86 to just set I'm not going to say records, but just sell out everywhere. So it was a great show. We also have Dusty Rhodes and Willie Nelson, which is I was involved in that. That brings back some memories. The late Benny Parsons is going to be on here, and we got Linda Curry, who you and I have been racking our brains and Googling with the Google machine, trying to find out who Linda Curry was. She was co-hosting with Magnum T.A. in this, and we still don't know. And maybe Magnum can help us out a little bit.
Well, it is one of those fun mysteries. And eventually I was like, hey, we know the Crockett's. We should just fucking ask.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't figure it out. So as best we can tell, she was just a pretty face they wanted to try out and put on. And I don't think we saw much of her after that, or she would have left more of an impression on you. You know, maybe we should have just texted Rick. He probably remembers.
Yeah, probably. When I first saw her, I was thinking maybe she was like on Turner Broadcasting for some way, like, I don't know, headline news, or maybe, Ted had this show that was kind of a flop, and I'm sorry it was a flop because I liked it. It was called Good News. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. He had a show called Good News, which he just talked about good news, which you never see anymore at all. You never see good news at all anymore on TV. But so maybe she was a hostess of that. I don't know. So anyway, it's pretty cool. And I'm pretty excited about it. Hey, also, I'd like to say this, which is kind of came out as a big story, I guess, within the last week, that if you're going to join us on the WWE network, you're going to have to go to a different platform pretty soon, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that, actually, because one day in a couple of months, you and I will be able to say, fire up your Peacock. Because that's the new deal here. The WWE network will be collapsing into the Peacock network, or streaming service, if you will, if you're here in America. But of course, the rest of the world will be able to maintain their existing WWE network platform. So we'll be interested to see what that looks and feels like, but I'm for it. Anything that makes these companies more money and they can pay their people more and have more resources, why not? So $1 billion over 5 years, that's good for every wrestling promotion.
It's tremendous. It's a tremendous business deal for Vince and his stockholders, and they can do exactly what they want to do. All the people who have worked hard on their digital platform, who have tried to do some, do inputs and make sure that they can all get fired, and he can save a lot of money by doing that. And now just the NBC people will man it. So that's exactly what it was for. So congratulations.
So you have inside information.
No, I don't have inside information, but that's pretty obvious. I mean, a guy with 3 eyes could see that, what's going on.
So you think all of the Peacock people will now be working on dubbing in music and knowing what to blur and what not to blur? That definitely won't be something WWE does, you fucking goof.
No, there'll be some people, but there's a lot of people that you have to input metadata.
Yeah.
And
it takes forever.
And now they'll have all the NBC people do it, and they can fire all the people in the WWE. So it's a great move for the stockholders. It's a great move for stock. It's a great move for the company. I get it.
When were the layoffs announced, Tony, since you have all this inside track?
I don't know. You and Bruce are blow buddies. Maybe he can tell you. I don't know.
Well, maybe here's an idea. Maybe you don't get on here and run your dick sucker about things you don't know about.
Well, yeah. Well, you do that all the time.
Oh, okay. Well, when I do it, I'm doing it as a fan.
Hey, don't call me a dick sucker, motherfucker.
I didn't. I said run.
Did.
I said run your dick sucker.
Okay. Listen, I'm not the one to put him on the Cock Network. Okay.
Hang on. I said that right after you said you are blow buddies with Bruce Pritchard. Why are you getting hot first thing in the morning?
Well, you're getting hot at me. You said, why don't you tell us what you know, motherfucker?
I'm here to talk about 1986 NWA and you want to shit on Vince. Shut the fuck up and let's watch Crockett shit. God damn it. What's wrong with you? Have you been hanging out with JR already? How you wake up mad, motherfucker?
I'm not shitting on Vince. I think it's a great business move, but it's pretty obvious that when they move everything to Peacock, that they're going to restructure their company.
Do you know
they're digital, and that means people are going to get laid off. It always happens.
Do you know what happens when you make assumptions?
You make an ass out of you and me.
Well, not me, motherfucker, because we're going to paint you looking like a clown. Let's just see how it shakes out.
Let me tell you this. I hope I am painted like a clown. I hope I'm wrong. I hope everybody there that works in digital for WWE keeps their job.
Me too.
I hope I'm wrong.
I like when people keep their jobs.
I do too.
Let's talk about something that's not on the network.
Because let me tell you this.
Who's they?
People who work in wrestling behind the scenes are hardworking people.
Yes.
I know they are, man. I've seen it. I've seen it on, I saw it here in 86. I saw it with the WWE that one year. I saw it with WCW. I've seen it with AEW. Every place I've gone, you got hardworking people behind the scenes whose names you never hear. And I know here in the modern era in 2021, you got some people busting their ass for the network. I hope they keep their job when it moves over to the cock. I hope. I don't know if they will or not. That's all I got to say about that.
Not everybody behind the scenes works hard. For instance, stupid ass Stan, our producer here, he did nothing for this show other than open the Zoom link and click record. You know, he doesn't do shit.
Well, you know what I'm saying? That needs to be addressed with the leadership of a company that he works for.
Well, I don't know who that would be.
Me neither.
So let's talk about what happened on February 1st. We mentioned that episode is not on the network, but I just want to explain what happened so you understand how the storylines have progressed.
Okay.
Again, this is the TV taping that happened at the WTBS studios, still hosted by Tony Schiavone and David Crockett, but for whatever reason, the February 1st episode is not on the network. But thanks to our friends over at the historyofwwe.com, which if you're not a regular visitor there, especially when you're looking up nostalgia stuff, you're missing out. It's the historyofwwe.com. Check it out. Anyway, here's the recap that they had written up for February 1st. The NWA World Champion Ric Flair and NWA TV Champion Arn Anderson defeated Don Kernodle and the Italian Stallion in 6 minutes and 33 seconds when Stallion submitted to Flair's figure 4. Prior to that bout, Tony Schiavone conducted an interview with Jim Crockett Jr. alongside NWA TV champion Arn Anderson, in which he said the national tag team titles were officially vacated due to the injury Ole Anderson sustained January 1st. Crockett then walked away as Arn yelled at him, with Arn then noting no team beat them for the titles, and he was offended national heavyweight champion Dusty Rhodes didn't mention him earlier in the show. So it's official now, because Ole sustained an injury on New Year's Day and has been out of action for 30 days. They were not able to defend their national tag team titles. And as a result, Jim Crockett Jr. makes a fairly rare appearance and strips Arn and Ole of those titles. So we've seen in all of our promos leading up to this, Arn was a dual champion. He would wear the TV title and have the national tag over his shoulder. He's now officially been stripped of the national tag team championship. And now here we are. This aired on February 7th, but it actually happened the very next day after that TV taping. It happened on February 2nd, and it happened at the Omni there in Atlanta. So that's what we're about to watch. Superstars on the Superstation. Now here's how we found this, at least on my end, Tony. I logged into the WWE network, which has a lot of metadata and is handled by a lot of employees behind the scenes in WWE.
Who we hope still get their job once they move to the cock.
And I hope that you keep your job, Tony. I mean, I really do.
I think I will.
You click the magnifying glass in the top right-hand corner and just type in Superstars on the Superstation. And ta-da, you'll see there it is. 1 hour, 28 minutes from February 7th, 1986. And Tony, my understanding is that we have a very special guest countdown today.
We have a trio of guests countdown, and it's a very, I'd like to say, very well done. It comes from Rocco, Frank Bruno, and the mental patient himself, Carl Mandick.
Carl Mandick is a wild child.
Yeah, he's out of control, but he knows that, you know. A lot of people who are out of their fucking head don't realize it. But he does.
Well, he comes from a long line of great man dicks.
And most have one that are man, except me.
And stupid ass Stan.
And I used to have one. I don't anymore. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready for a countdown. If that's what we're teasing, I sure am.
Well, you're getting really snippy, aren't you?
Well, I'm not exactly sure because I threw to it and then you asked me if I was ready. So now I'm like, am I playing the video right now?
Snippy, man.
Or are we doing a countdown?
I don't know how you deal with this fucker because he can get so fucking belligerent quickly. Nicest guy in the world. Piss him off. Your day's fucking ruined.
Well, so here's a pro tip. Don't piss me off. It's not that hard. It's kind of easy.
Hey, you ready?
I've been ready, you motherfucker.
In 3, 2, 1, here comes our countdown. That was not our countdown, by the way.
What the fuck are you doing, Tony?
Wait a minute. That was not our
How
countdown.
are you this bad at this? No. Play the goddamn tape.
Hit pause. Go back to 00000. We'll do it again. And here comes our countdown.
Hello, slapdicks. I'm Rocco, loyal WHW supporter from Yonkers, New York.
I'm Frank Bruno. I'm a low-key big hog from the Little Estate, Rhode Island.
Mandic here, low-key big hog, Scottsdale by way of Chicago IL.
Hello, everyone. We are back here at Batwing Stadium for the softball showdown of the century. We've got the Psychos versus the Stooges.
Terry T on the mound, bottom of the 6th. Bases juiced as a vicious man steps to the plate, grinding his teeth. A noodle arm delivery from...
Whoa, Sid Udy parks it. Unlike Schiavone backing up a company-rented SUV, whack-a-boom! He is the master and the ruler of the universe. I don't believe what I just saw.
Touch 'em all, Sid, in 3,
2, and 1. Play.
Presented in the most complete form possible due to original production technical difficulties. Someone had to key that in, Tony. Hope they keep their job.
I hope they do too. Track it.
Here we go.
Here's Linda Curry. She's going to be my guest host tonight. And we've got some very exciting wrestling matches coming your way, plus a very special interview with my friend, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and Willie Nelson. What do you think about all this, Linda?
I am ecstatic. I'm so excited to be here. I'm becoming a fan fast tonight. I bet you would rather be down there wrestling than up here sitting in a tux with me, though, wouldn't you?
Well, I feel pretty comfortable sitting here beside you, but yes, I would rather be in the ring. But let's go to ringside right now with two men that are in their own right stars on the Superstation. I'm talking about David Crockett and Tony Schiavone.
Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Superstars on the Superstation.
Trucking Tom Miller there, buddy. As you can see, we are ready to go live, aren't we?
I mean, my God, he threw to, here we go.
Like Tom Miller said, welcome to the Superstars on the Superstation, special edition of World Championship Wrestling. I'm David Crockett, and Tony, we have the matches. The matches are here. The dream matches that all you fans have written in. Thousands upon thousands of cards and letters came in, we tabulated, and we've got them.
David, we have 4 matches for our fans here tonight. And, you know, of all across the country, people wanted to see, well, I want to see Ric Flair and Ron Garvin. I want to see the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express for those World Tag Team titles. They want to see
it so easily.
They want to see the Russians against the Road Warriors. They want to see Dusty against Tully. Well, we got them right for you here tonight. Let us tell you, though, it's TV, one fall, 20-minute time limit for all of these matches.
That's right, and that makes it harder because they're going to go all out for that 20 minutes.
And, of course, the last match, which will be Ric Flair going up against Ron Garvin for the World Heavyweight title, will be television time remaining. Yes. Excitement Plus here tonight, special edition, Superstars on the Superstation.
And Ron Garvin has Ric Flair's number.
Here's Jim Cornette already in the ring after commercial.
Ladies and gentlemen, the hour of midnight has fallen. I present to you now the next tag team champions of the world. Loverboy Dennis and Beautiful Bobby, the Midnight Express.
So let's talk about what we got here. Truckin' Tom Miller is our ring announcer. Of course, Jim Cornette always introduces the Midnight Express. The production quality here leaves a little to be desired, but I kind of like, this old primitive sort of look that we've got. There's not a lot of lighting. We do have a nice enough little entrance set here, but I love the spotlight on the way to the ring. And I know that you sometimes have gone back and forth on this, but I like when the arena's dark and there's a spotlight that follows them, and the only real light is right over the ring. And Arn Anderson often says that when you have a crowd sitting in the dark, they'll cheer louder. They're less sort of self-conscious about making a fool of themselves, hooting and hollering. And when you light them up, it looks better on TV maybe, and you do showcase how full it is, and you're showing off how popular your product is with an ass every 18 inches, like JR used to say, but they tend to be a little quieter. So you get a more raucous crowd if it's in the dark. And I kind of like the spotlight look that we have here. What do you think of the presentation that we're looking at right now?
Well, I really like it. It was a different society back then. And let me tell you why. People were a little bit more reserved, and Arn is right. The darker the crowd, the better they cheered.
Right.
JR say that all the time when we started working together at WCW. He said, you light the goddamn crowd, no one wants to cheer. You put them in the dark and they'll go crazy. And he was right. Of course, now fast forward to today where everyone wants to be seen on TV. Everyone wants to be a part of the show. That wasn't the way society was back in 1986.
Right.
So it just shows how society has changed. I like it. I really do like this. The NBA did that too. I don't know if you remember many years ago, they had the NBA All-Star game in Atlanta. And I think may have been Jordan's last NBA All-Star game. I'm not sure. They had, it was kind of a throwback to the 70s, and they darkened Phillips Arena. They darkened it like they used to do. And it was a great atmosphere. And I like this. And I wonder, I guess only David could answer this. I just wonder how much of this production was paid for by TBS and how much was paid for by Jim Crockett Promotions. And I have to wonder who was in charge of all this. It looks like to me, does it look like to you that there's blood on the canvas?
Yeah, it feels like there were matches earlier in the night for the live crowd.
Yeah.
Because, you can see that it's stained to shit. But I do let's talk about what's different here. This is not your regular Crockett canvas. It says Superstation imprinted all over the ring. So on all four corners, very reminiscent of boxing in the era. I love the look. Also, the Rock and Roll Express now are in the ring, and we see they're wearing the NWA World Championship tag team titles. And this is sort of the old school look. I guess it's like a Vartanian look. It's like a cast version of the titles, not the traditional. I think when people think of the NWA tag team titles in this era, they think of the blue tags. At least I do. I kind of remember these being, the tag titles before, if that makes sense. But I guess here they are. And I love the look of those, the 7 platers. What do you think of those belts?
Yeah, I like them too. I think that not many people, except for, belt guys like you, or as I call them, belt snobs like you, know the difference. I remember the ones that the Andersons used to wear back in the day, which I guess these are the copies of, right?
Yeah, that's right. They did 2 versions of that. They did the regular and then like a 25th anniversary, but like Rick Rude had them and blah, blah, blah. And there you see Midnight Express really taking it to the Rock and Roll Express right away. I love that look, by the way, when Ricky was coming to the ring here and he's standing on the outside of the apron and we shot him from below and you had those colored lights above the ring and you've got all those different colors and he's got a little spotlight on him. It looked big time. It looked special. And I know the production quality as far as the lighting and all of that at times is maybe not to everyone's taste, but they went out of their way to try to make this show look different and look special than what you would normally see on TBS. And I think they accomplished that.
I do too. It's a good look. It's a big time look. And I'm also noticing, I think probably you have as well, all the different photographers. See them here at the bottom of the screen?
Yeah. Not only that, but look at the big stick in the background. That's how they used to mic the ring here. Instead of hanging a microphone, underneath the ring and down from the ceiling over the ring, they've got microphones on a stick here that are going to pick up in-ring action, but also pick up the reaction from the crowd. I don't know, dude. I just dig it. And I dig the old guardrails, you know, that these days the WWE has not only the mats around the ring on the floor, but they've also got the little perimeter. Everyone else in wrestling uses those old little bike rack deals, and sometimes they'll dress them up like you guys do in AEW, and certainly Ring of Honor has for a long time. But this is a much more primitive, just a couple of blue bars. And it just, I don't know, man, it looks cool to me. It's old school and I dig it. And I love this angle. Now we go to the hard cam view, and they're not just being stationary. They're zooming it in, they're zooming it out, they're panning left and right. I know you've sometimes been critical of TBS production, and they certainly deserve their criticism, but so far so good on this show, man. I kind of dig it.
Yeah, me too. I like the look, and I like that hard that you were talking about, that hard. I call that the Madison Square Garden hard cam, hard angle. You know, that's the way they shot MSG a lot, from that angle. I like it. And, I don't think they probably use it enough, but, we had, I was looking around to see if Jackie Crockett was at ringside, and he's not. I was going to say, if he was at ringside, this is probably the first time Jackie shot a show on TBS. Jackie would shoot the shows for us when we go out and do syndication.
I see.
He was part of Emerson Lawson's crew and Wayne Daniel, that crew that worked for Jim Crockett full time. And I guess, again, we've talked about this before. The TBS people wanted their own people to work it. And I do recognize some of the people I don't. I can't remember their names, but I do remember working with them. Let's see, I'm trying to, the guy in the yellow shirt, he's a longtime ring guy for the Omni.
Security?
No, just kind of a guy that brought back the coats.
Oh, I got you.
And he also helped set up the ring. So he was like kind of a ring attendant, and he was there. I mean, you can go back and watch like the Battle of Atlanta, you know, that one.
Yeah.
And you can see him at ringside as well. Charlie McGowan usually was the guy that kept the time. The ring announcer back during this era was at the Omni was me. I did the ring announcing at the Omni back in there, but they had Truck and Tom do it here because Tom was the best. And you'll notice that beside us, a guy with gray hair, that is Charlie McGowan, who's Scrappy McGowan's dad. And Charlie was the timekeeper. Charlie and I had such a great time at the Omni when we would do the shows. I know I've said this many times. We would break for intermission, right? And then Charlie would come out and he would look at me. He would say Broadway, and I go fuck, because we all wanted to make that 11:15 flight to Charlotte, the Eastern Airlines flight. So, like for instance, I remember Brad Armstrong, Ric Flair, and he came out and he said Broadway. I said, "There's no fucking way these two are going to go Broadway." He said Broadway. I said, "All right." So every 10 minutes, I would cut off 2 minutes. So the fans think it was a Broadway. It would end up being like 20 minutes less, something like that, 15 minutes less. They really didn't go Broadway because it was my thought that unless you had a stopwatch in the crowd, you really didn't know.
It would have been 48 minutes, Tony.
48 minutes. So thanks for doing the arithmetic.
So here's what something else I noticed. Notice in the ringside seats, in the corners where they might have security guards or people like that, they're folding chairs.
Mm-hmm.
But the people, I believe, because I just saw a couple empty seats in the front row, maybe somebody was taking a whiz or getting a drink. It's like a plastic seat you would sit in school, where it's like a one-piece construction. I don't know why, but all the old stuff about these shows really tickles me. And I was happy to know, because I don't think I really registered that was the case. And maybe it wasn't always. But you see that Winston logo in the background, which is, you know, a tobacco brand. And of course, these days you could never see that, but I've seen that in so many photos. I don't think I put two and two together that was the Omni, that anytime I saw that Winston thing, it was the Omni.
Right. That's
kind of cool. And I like that you can't really see the crowd. It's just darkness. And then occasionally you'll see a couple of lights in the background around the concourse. Cause the Omni was a big venue. I mean, it was like, as Arn Anderson calls it, the Madison Square Garden of the South.
Yeah, it was the Omni. And again, you can go back and take a look at every territory back in the day. The Omni for Atlanta, Greensboro for Mid-Atlantic, Madison Square Garden for the WWF. I'm sure that the AWA had their, big venue. Not so sure what that was because I didn't follow them. Maybe it was Bloomington, Minnesota. I'm not so sure. But everybody had their big venue that they always brought out the big guns in. And this was it. Although, this kind of looks like a different crowd. I want to tell you why. Because you got kids in the front and you got a guy with a tie on.
I was noticing that, man. It's not your paint by numbers wrestling crowd.
No, you're right. It's not the regular Omni crowd. I don't think. Very interesting on this.
Some of those guys may be TBS executives.
Yeah, exactly. Wanted to see wrestling. Let's see. We got wrestling on our station. We don't like it. We like Andy Griffith, or we like the Braves, or we like Captain Planet. We don't like that wrestling stuff. We at CNN. Yeah, fuck you.
Hey, you were saying I was in a bad mood. Listen to the way you're mad at
I was in a good mood until you motherfucked me before we started.
I was in a good mood until you just started to make it all about fuck WWE. We're talking.
I didn't say about. I was congratulating WWE for going to the Cock Network. I think it's great.
Why do you keep calling it the Cock Network?
Well, because Peacock is 2 syllables, and I want to kind of button up how many syllables I use today.
Okay, that's cool. Do that for everything else and not just WWE stuff, please.
Okay.
Hey, so if you're a younger fan, I want you to go ahead and throw in your Google machine, Omni Coliseum, and just click Google Images, because the building itself, it had a very unique look. Did it not, Tony?
It was like an octagon shaped.
It's just the roof is different, and it's an interesting looking building. Of course, it was demolished in 1997. I don't know why y'all keep doing that over in Atlanta. I like the old Georgia Dome. It was fine. I saw so many great shows there, and now it's gone forever. And so are those great memories, including Hulk Hogan and Goldberg. And don't get me wrong, the new arena is fucking something else. I mean, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium is fantastic. I'm not knocking it.
It's terrible.
But God, nothing was wrong with the old one. And I like the history of the old stuff. And I don't know, go check out the Omni, just pictures of the building if you never got to actually go see a show there or don't remember seeing it. It's an interesting looking venue, and it's really important for the history of wrestling.
Yeah. And Phillips Arena, which is the venue now, Phillips Arena is on the site where the Omni was. They just, same place. But I agree. I like the Georgia Dome. Turner Field didn't last long, and it opened up in 97, I believe, the year after the Olympics. And I think it made it about not even 15 years.
Yeah.
And they opened up a new stadium up in Cobb County out of Atlanta. So Atlanta has had, it's had plenty of money out there apparently for its sports teams. And I hope the sports teams come through for them. Well, the soccer team has MSL, the Atlanta United. I'm sorry, not the Atlanta United, Atlanta United FC.
Let me just pitch this. If Lauren Yaffe is a fan of them, they probably suck.
Yeah. She has a tendency to
pick lovable losers. She picks lovable losers, except for Eric Bischoff. We know Eric Bischoff ain't never been nothing but a winner.
Right. And boy, she loves him.
Oh God. On a way that maybe only Mrs. B can relate to.
I know. I mean, you see Lauren on it, and I've done, many Zoom calls on Patreon with her and on ad-free shows. And as soon as you see her, you see Eric's picture in the back on her wall.
Yeah. It says, "In Eric we trust."
Amazing. So yeah, she's like the Falcons, South Carolina Cox, which are not the same as the Peacock Network.
No, the Cock Network.
The Cock Network.
Man, how about a top rope knee drop? Can we just talk about that for a minute? Let's process what we just saw. I feel like that gets glossed over a lot. Bobby Eaton, one of the best in-ring performers of all time, been well established here on the show. And well, anytime you've ever heard anyone talk about working with him, he climbs to the top rope, jumps off, and then comes down with a knee drop and does not hurt the guy.
No,
that's a fucking skill, man.
And I every time I saw that, I often wondered how he hurt his own knee by doing that.
Oh God, he had to just destroy himself. But
yeah, he took the brunt of it.
All of it, not the brunt of it, all of it. I've talked to guys who took it and they said, "Man, I never felt a thing."
Yeah.
And process what we're talking about there. You're 240 pounds or whatever, jumping off the top rope, knee first towards the guy's face, and he doesn't feel a thing.
God bless Bobby Eaton.
One of the all-time greats. And man, if he, obviously he did his best work when he's with Cornette because he had a powerful mouthpiece. So Cornette could piss you off and get you riled up and, evoke all these emotions. And then Bobby could go in the ring and do what he does better than anybody else. I mean, when you make a short list of great in-ring performers in this era who maybe didn't get the primetime spotlight in a singles position, Bobby Eaton's got to be near the top of that list.
Bobby knew his craft, man. And, we had him, with us in Nashville at a stage show.
Oh, tremendous guy.
Just one of the nicest guys in the world and wouldn't say anything bad about anybody.
No. And we're saying like on stage or backstage,
right?
Complimentary and polite and respectful for everyone. And if we said something shitty, he wouldn't chime in, but he might just tilt his head, grin and point. But it was, he's just a good guy.
Yeah. I wish he was still performing.
I wish he could wrestle till he was 100.
Yeah, I do too.
It's funny. I ran into him once years ago at the NWA Legends Fan Fest. I'm at the bar, of course. And he comes up to the bar and he's waiting on the bartender to come over. And I said, Huntsville's finest. And he turns and he says, what you know about Huntsville? I said, I'm from Huntsville. He says, no, you're not. I said, yeah, I am. And he said, well, I went to school in Huntsville. What schools are in Huntsville? So I start rattling them off and he's like, holy shit, you're from Huntsville. But it's like, why would anybody think it's cool to brag about being from Huntsville? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's not a cool thing to say. Oh, I'm from Huntsville.
Well, if you're at Alabama, Huntsville's pretty cool, right?
Let me mention the dark matches that happened on this card before we went live here were Ron Bass fighting the Barbarian to a draw. So that must've been thrilling.
That was that strength contest that they were talking about, we did a promo on.
Baron von Raschke defeated the Italian Stallion, who was substituting for Sam Houston. And the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, defeated the NWA television champion Arn Anderson by DQ.
Yeah.
The show also included an opening video package of Magnum T.A. arriving to the arena on his motorcycle to the tune of Willie Nelson's Georgia on a Fast Train. So we know why it didn't air, because they couldn't, here on the network, they couldn't play Willie Nelson's song, which he obviously gave them permission for in this era.
Right.
We also saw Bob Caudle backstage with Ricky and Robert Gibson as they were getting dressed for their upcoming title defense. And, they showed some footage of the Rock and Rolls beating the Russians to win the tag team titles. They played a commercial for the Starrcade 85, VHS, the home video as they called it back then. And they also showed footage of the Russians assaulting the Road Warrior Animal with a chain at the WTBS studios and hanging Road Warrior Hawk with the chain during the syndicated taping. They had Magnum speak with a race car driver, Benny Bartons. So there's lots of production and context, if you will, provided here on the show. And some of that still makes the network. Some of it does not, but we've got a great match here going, man, with the Rock and Rolls and the Midnights, and they get plenty of time here, 16 minutes and 27 seconds. And it's a pretty major moment that we don't want to miss.
Also, the NASCAR driver is Benny Parsons. And I don't know if our history of WWE people had put it in there right. Metadata is pretty big.
Yeah.
It's pretty important when you're working online.
Yeah, that's why all those people are going to get laid off. Tony has the inside track. So, go ahead and print that and attribute that quote to Tony Schiavone and make sure you quote it that it came from the What Happened When podcast.
No. Again, the big round guy with the beard is a lie.
No. That's what I was trying to argue about earlier. Cause
I said, I hope they don't.
But you said, they will.
I did not say I know they will. I said, I'm sure some will.
Okay.
I hope they don't.
Rocket launcher, baby. What do you think of the rocket launcher as a tag team, like a double team maneuver? I've always thought it was underrated.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Look how these kids bump now, buddy.
Boy, that is the definition and the epitome of a hot tag.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Morton comes in, and it's usually the other way around. Ricky Morton's the one doing all the selling, and he tags in Robert Gibson, but we finally saw it happen the other way. Weird little cross body, and he covered him, but the other guys are in the ring, so Pee-wee's not going to make the count.
The double drop. Oh, we got a referee bump. Jesus Christ, first match on TV.
And Pee-wee was hesitant to just go with it.
Yeah, I think he was hesitant because of, again, it's dangerous out there with that concrete.
Oh my God. Jim Cornette comes in the hard way. That's a nice way to break your coccyx.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and check this out. Ricky Morton has the belt out. Let's track a little bit of this. This is good stuff. Oh, there goes the racket shot from Condrey. Let's track it.
Top of Ricky Morton. He's down.
Look at him. Cornette dragging. Beautiful Bobby over. They used the racket on him. Come on, bud.
Now,
Robert, you need to get back in. Robert's out there fighting. Fighting dead. No, no, no.
Oh, no. David.
They did it.
That was the bell. It's over. Pee-wee Anderson looking for the belts. Oh, no, there's new champions.
No. The Midnight Express, with the help of Jim Cornette. They're your winners. Let's watch it. Look at him. There you see. Robert.
David, it was the racket. Cornette now pleading.
Ricky's got that belt out that he's felt so many times.
Here it comes.
There you see Dennis, and he waffles. Look at it. Ricky right in the back of the head. Takes it out. Cornette sees it. And that's, you know the rest.
Okay, let's go to Magnum T.A. up at the desk.
You know, I can't think of a more devastating blow to have been struck the wrestling world to have the Midnight Express of all the people, out of all the people that the Rock and Roll defended those world's heavyweight titles against, to have them with the help of that Jim Cornette take the world's tag team titles. It's just almost more than I can put in words.
It was amazingly exciting. I was amazed at how the fans support who they're really for, Magnum. I mean, it's the fans have so much energy, and they seem to really support who they're for. They really yell at the people they're not for. It's amazing how they're really into the match so much.
Well, it's always the fans that help bring the best out of us. I know the Rock and Roll are real down right now. I'll tell you what, we're getting ready to go to a break right now. But when we come back, we're going to have an interview with the new World Tag Team Champions, the Midnight Express.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next event of the evening is a tag team match. One fall with a 20-minute time limit. Introducing first in the corner to my left, from Russia, with a combined wrestling weight of 251 kilos. Co-holders of the World Six-Man Tag Team Championship, Ivan Koloff and Nikita Koloff. Their opponents from Chicago, Illinois, with a combined wrestling weight of 580 pounds, accompanied by their manager, trainer, and advisor, Paul Ellerling. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the Road Warriors.
Man, if there is one thing that I wish we could still see, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff that's been edited off the network.
Mm-hmm.
If the Road Warriors came out to Iron Man here, can you imagine at the Omni how hot that crowd would have been? I would have loved to have seen that again.
When they used to hit those first notes, I am Iron, people would go crazy when they would hear that. And I have a feeling that I think Magnum said we're going to come back and talk to Jim Cornette. They probably snuck that music in under his interview.
And they had to edit it out.
They had to edit it out. Yeah, because we're not getting that. How about Linda Curry? She
terrible Terrible. My God. The gist of what she just said is, can you believe all these people are this into the shit? Like, this is some silly shit that they're into, isn't it, Magnum?
And he's pissed and she's grinning. That is not her fault. Well, that is her fault, but she was not produced, right?
Yeah. Somebody needed to give her some lines.
That's right.
Say this, say that, put that over, instead of, hey, spend a lot of time on your hair and makeup. I mean, that was it. She was there because, you know, she had a look that they wanted to put on TV. And by the way, I'll be honest, I kind of only remember Magnum doing this type of thing. Oh, wow. That was weird to see. What would you call that? The bear hug and fuck? I mean, I feel like I've seen that movie over on Brazzers before. Jesus.
Yeah. The hug and fuck.
The hug and fuck. Yeah. I think old Piper Perry's familiar with that one. Hey, so the deal is, Magnum, I thought, only did this type of thing sort of post accident, but here he is, suited and booted in a tuxedo, got his nugget watch like he likes it, a pinky ring Jones, and he's doing okay. I mean, you know, I'm not going to say it's the best talking head work we ever saw, but
yeah,
clearly Dusty and Jim Crockett thought, hey man, this is going to be one of our next big stars. Let's make sure he's on as many segments as possible. And he's a good looking dude and has the kind of look we want. So let's put him up here with, the old Nimrod, Linda Curry.
I just wonder if she was Bill Curry's wife.
Mm.
He was, I think he was, I don't know if he was a coach of Georgia Tech at this time during this era. I knew he coached Georgia Tech. Could have been, don't know. But also need to point out that they were the world 6-man tag team champs. And as you know, they had used, Baron von Raschke. And the reason they had is that, Barry Darsow had blown out his knee at this time. After Barry had dropped the title to Sam Houston on TV, which we saw, just a few weeks ago, Barry blew out his knee, so he was not able to perform. And that's why they brought in Baron von Raschke to help him out. And that's why you don't see Darsow here at ringside with him. I mean, it was a serious injury to him. So,
I want to mention,
amazing. It's amazing what I remember after you start watching things, isn't it?
You guys had, 2 shows on this day, February 2nd, when this taped. Of course, this aired on February 7th, but the 2nd is, when this was taped. I said 2 shows. It's actually 3 shows. You did a show at the Coliseum in Charlotte. 12,000 fans are there. 10,200 fans paid. It's a sellout. On top, it's the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express. That's a matinee show. You also saw Arn pin Manny Fernandez. You saw Magnum T.A. pin the Barbarian. You saw Ron Garvin and Tully Blanchard fight to a 30-minute time limit draw. We also saw Sam Houston pin Black Bart with a roll-up. There's another matinee show the same day in Canada at Cops Coliseum, Hamilton, Ontario. Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes had a matinee show in the main event. And of course, Ric Flair wins after he hits Rhodes in the back of the head. We also had the Road Warriors defeat Nikita and Baron von Raschke. Jimmy Valiant would fight Abdul the Butcher to a no contest. So we had 2 huge matinee shows. Again, I want to recap. 12,000 fans in a Coliseum in Charlotte, 12,000 fans in a Coliseum in Ontario. And then that night, 10,000 fans here at the Omni. On this particular day, process what we're talking about here, guys. 12,000, 10,000 in the same doggone day. 34,000 people paying to see Jim Crockett Promotions. And I know in hindsight, everybody talks about, oh, the WWF won the war, and certainly they did. But when you can sell 34,000 tickets in a day, holy shit, dude.
Yeah. How did you lose it?
2 Coliseum shows as matinee shows, and then the Omni at night. And by the way, what you're doing that night is going to be featured on TBS in prime time. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. You know, when we ran a show in Canada, we ran in conjunction with Angelo Mosca. He was the promoter up there, and they had a very, very bitter. They didn't. The Crockett's and Angelo Mosca just did not get along.
Oh, I see.
Why do you think that is? I remember I went on a trip with them. I went to Brantford, Ontario, They flew me up to Brantford in one of the private planes, and they flew, and then they went on to, I think, Ottawa. And I remember in the backstage area, Nikita, who was pretty much a known prick at that time, right? He wasn't the most popular guy. And he said, "Hey, Angelo, the payoff's not going to come in that Canadian Monopoly money, are they?"
Oh, God.
And Angelo was so pissed. And he said something to me, and he said, "Tony, I'm sorry." He said, "I shouldn't have said that." He said, you're doing a great job. You're a good guy. You've helped us out in the backstage area. He said that we're just getting fucked on this. And he was so angry that day, and angry to the point to where Jimmy and Dusty and the private plane flew from Canada, Brantford, Ontario, spent the night in New York City at Helmsley Palace, because I was on that trip, Helmsley Palace trip. And the next day, we all went back to Ontario or to Ottawa, but Jimmy and Dusty didn't. They went back home because they some sort of problem with Angelo. And that wasn't good business, right? I mean, it really wasn't. And I think Dusty may have been booked. Jimmy may know the story. I'm sure you guys didn't even talk about that, but you may have. But Angelo Mosca and whoever his partner, they did not have a good relationship. And again, it was like, Dusty could do what he wanted to do type thing. It was kind of like Dusty leaving the Egg Dome back in 91 with the world title when Fujinami won it. I think I'm right.
And he brought the belt back?
Brought the belt back. And I remember asking him, I said, why? I think I've said this before. He won the belt. Why? And I remember Dusty says, "We're bringing it back home. That's it." As if to say, I don't want you ask me any more questions. That's what we're doing. But I couldn't understand what that was done. So again, just some of the problems that they had. And this thing backstage and with promoters and everything, this thing is kind of fucking broken down, hasn't it?
Oh, in a major way. Let's track a little bit here.
He's got the chain. Over. Now, Hulk's got the chain now. He starts to pound away on Nikita. They roll him back in. Paul Ellering starting on Baron Von Raschke. Hulk with the chain right in the side of the head of Nikita. They take Ivan. They got the chain. They catch him right across the throat with a chain. Now they take Raschke with a chain. And they say, all right. Ivan and Nikita and Baron, do you want to come in?
Now, how does the chain feel now? How does the chain feel now? Outside interference from Baron Von Raschke and the Road Warrior.
And they leave.
All right.
And listen to the chant. That's right. USA. Koloff and Baron, think about it. All right, let's go back and watch it.
So it's broken down. It's going to be a DQ. Road Warriors win because Baron and Crusher interfered, and Paul Ellering's trying to do his best. I like the use of a chain here. I mean, they've been building the chain up on TBS on the regular show. We saw, once upon a time Hawk was hung with it and the whole deal, and now the heels get their comeuppance with the chain. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is. And you and I talked about this before we rolled tape. It's not tape. What?
Here we go. Let's track it here.
World, and as a racing fan myself, I'm a great admirer of Benny Parsons. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I just wish that my son, my 16-year-old, could be here because he is a great fan and also a great Magnum T.A. fan.
Well, thank you very much. I've been following stock car racing, Grand National racing since I was a kid. I grew up in Virginia. Of course, that's on the racing belt itself. And I know you had a great year last year in '85, and I know you're looking for a lot of great things to happen for you in '86.
Boy, we sure are. We have an Oldsmobile this year, brand new car, brand new year, first year for an Oldsmobile. We are looking forward to it so much.
Well, I know there was a man named Bill Elliott kind of gave everybody a little stiff competition last year. Maybe I'm bringing up a bad point, but I know there are some new cars coming out, and I think that maybe that'll give y'all the winning edge that you need.
Well, Bill last year, he just had a superior car to us, Magnum. There's nothing we could basically do with him, but the GM cars this year, all of them, the Oldsmobile, the Pontiac, the Chevrolet, and the Buick, we all have new cars, new sheet metal. I think we got some for Bill this year. I hope so anyway.
That's great. You know, well, I've always enjoyed wrestling because it kind of puts me on the edge, living on the edge. And I've always thought, you know, it'd be a great thrill to be in a car going 200 miles an hour, but to be out there with 10, 15 other guys going that same kind of speed, trying to negotiate through the traffic, I really can't imagine what that'd be like.
It's like the wrestling thing. You probably started out just in minor leagues of wrestling, high school, college wrestling, and went into professional wrestling. That's basically the way I started. I started in the minor leagues and worked my way up to the professional league.
Well, I tell you what, I doubt very seriously that you'd ever want to get in the wrestling ring. But sometime I wouldn't mind getting in one of those race cars with you because I'd like to ride around that track with you sometime with that kind of speed. That would be exciting to me.
Well, if you're from the Richmond area, Virginia area, February 23rd, come on up to Richmond. I'm not driving in that race, but I'm doing the commentary on Superstation WTBS. And I tell you what, we'll try to get you riding one of those cars.
Well, that's fantastic. It was a real pleasure talking to you, Benny. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, and good luck.
All right, thank you.
Boy,
that was a good interview.
Linda, you're right. Those fans out there can be really wild, but they are the people that drive us on to do the things we do in that wrestling ring. I'm talking about fans, talking about good friends. You know, you can go through a whole lifetime and meet very few people that you consider your best friends, somebody to be with you through thick and thin. I consider the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, to be just such a person. And I had a very special week here the last week because I had the opportunity to go to Tucson, Arizona with Dusty and watch some very special filming. It seems that Willie Nelson and some of his cohorts, I'm talking about people like Johnny Cash and the wild men that he run around with, they've all decided to do a remake of the great classic Western Stagecoach. And I got to sit out there and watch the American Dream. He had a stand-in part, and also got to see a very special interview between Willie Nelson, who's a very close personal friend of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and himself, and heard the things they had to talk about. Let's take a look at that segment right now.
Hi everyone, Jim Crockett Sports on location in Tucson, Arizona. It is here in Tucson, Arizona, where the movie is being filmed, Stagecoach, Willie Nelson's new movie. And Jim Crockett Sports, very pleased, very honored to be with two superstars, two legends in the country today. The national heavyweight champion, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes to my right, and of course, Willie Nelson. Willie, we're really glad to be here today. First of all, tell us about your movie.
Well, it's a remake of the old Stagecoach classic that John Wayne was in, and it's me and Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash and Chris Christopherson and John Snyder and Mary Crosby, Elizabeth Ashley, Anthony Newley, and it's just a good Western, you know. It's about time for a couple of those to come back, don't you think?
That's a fact, boy. I love them too. Where's the Bonanza, man? Where did they go?
Yeah, really.
Dusty, I understand you've had a long-time friendship and love for Willie Nelson. Tell us something about that.
That's a true fact, Tony Schiavone. What did you say? And of course, Willie Nelson a while ago. You don't recognize me sitting here, you know? But anyway, I have. You know, growing up in Austin, Texas, and is where I was born and raised. My dad was a plumber, and he always loved going to wrestling, loved going to hear music. And the first time that I really didn't tell this story a while ago in private. First time that I really remember Willie, that he was a young man and flat top, and he was playing at another place called Big Gills. Remember Gills?
Big Gills, yeah.
And me and some kids from Johnston High School went out and was out the back, and we were old enough to get in. And we had a 6-pack of beer. We listened to Willie, and that was before it was fashionable. Willie Nelson was my man for a long time, and then I passed across on the road a lot, and we enjoy a lot of the same things and entertain a lot of the same people. And I think it's important that the relationship between two people like me and Willie is that people know that there ain't nothing real fancy about what I do or what he does. We were just doing it really well before it was fashionable. And I told a story a while ago, tell it again, and even in Amarillo, Texas, when I first got in professional wrestling, I wrestled 20 minutes with a guy named Reggie Parks to a draw. I was lucky to get out with my life. And I got $25. I got to go back to Austin.
$25?
$25. Got to go back to Austin. So I bought me a 6-pack of beer, and I had a few dollars left. And I could always count on, back then, my early days on the road, that turning on the Bill Mack show out of Fort Worth.
Right.
And whether anybody liked it or not, or wasn't supposed to be done in order, whatever, he would play Willie Nelson songs. And it made me feel good. It helped me get through the night, helped me get through the road. And he's always, in some way that he doesn't even know, helps me get through a lot of things that I do. And I feel good about Willie Nelson and my relationship. Even if I see him once a year at New Year's or twice a year, and walk up to him, I just respect him, and I love Willie Nelson. I always tell him that every New Year's Eve, he looks at me through glassy eyes. Me too, Dream.
He says he walks up to you and talks to you once a year, twice a year, New Year's Eve. I understand that many times he has tried to walk on stage and take over the show. What about that?
Have you ever tried to stop anybody like Dusty from walking on and taking over any show? Him and Earl come on every year, and they become regulars on our Summit New Year's Eve show, and I look forward to seeing Dusty. Well, I see him more than once a year.
Yeah, we
see him in Atlanta occasionally, and other places around the country. But we travel and we entertain, so we run across each other occasionally.
Tell us about your music. We talked about your new movie. What are your plans for some music in the future?
I have a new album coming out called Living in the Promised Land. I was telling you the words to that song. Would you like for me to tell those words again? It's living in the promised land. Our dreams are made of steel. The prayer of every man is to know how freedom feels. There is a winding road across the shifting sands, and room for everyone living in the promised land. And so they came from the distant isles, nameless woman, faithless child, like a bad dream, until there was no room at all, no place to run and no place to fall. So give us your daily bread. We have no shoes to wear, no place to call our own, only this cross to bear. We are the multitude. Lend us a helping hand. Is there no love anymore living in the promised land?
That's strong, ain't it?
That's strong.
I like it. That's great. It's going to be great. Sounds good.
Jim Crockett Sports on location, Tucson, Arizona, filming of Willie Nelson's new movie, Stagecoach. Thank you, gentlemen. You have both very busy schedules. Thank you very much for spending time with us here today. And here today, it's very obvious that legends are not made, legends are born.
Oh my God. Oh my
God. God damn, I could sell some shit. Man, make that guy a wrestling announcer, man. Legends are fucking born. They ain't made. Woo! Woo! Me and Dusty and Willie, legends, motherfucker.
I did not see that coming.
Neither did I.
Jesus.
Oh God, that was tremendous. This is going to be a good match, but I need to tell you a couple stories about that taping.
First of all, let me put over the robes here.
Yeah.
I love Dusty with the robe and the hat. That was a cool look.
Old school.
And here's Tully taking his robe off. I think that robe just recently sold online, and the national title looks pretty good around Dusty's waist. He's got Baby Doll with him. Of course, he's being introduced second. Tully Blanchard has JJ Dillon in his corner. And of course, Baby Doll dressed like she's going to the fucking prom here. I mean, that all sequin material there, that looks like a Flair robe right there. Does it not?
Yeah, it does. And actually I don't think it's very becoming of her. I think she had, some other outfits that look much better.
Oh yeah. She had better outfits, but the point is she jumps off the screen because of those sequins. I mean, look over there in the corner, dude. Yeah. Anyway, tell us those stories about Tucson, Arizona here.
Okay. So me and Dusty and Magnum and Wayne Daniel and, David Crockett flew to Tucson. Now, this was my first trip ever across the Mississippi. I'd never been out that far. That
really?
Far. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think the furthest I'd been out west had been Alabama.
Wow.
We talked about, my growing up small town, not doing much. This was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
So Dusty and David sat in first class, and I think Magnum did too, if I recall that correctly. And Wayne Daniel and I sat in the back, and they bought us drinks, and we got drunker than shit because we connected through Dallas on American Airlines and flew out. So we go to the airport, and we come out of the airport, get our bags, going to get a cab, and we open the doors slide open, and there's a cactus across the street. And Dusty said, "Hello, Tucson. Look at that. It's a fucking cactus. Are we not in Tucson?" That's how drunk we were. We were putting over a fucking cactus.
Cactuses are born. They aren't made.
Exactly. He said, "We're in look at that fucking cactus." I mean, we were like going crazy. So anyway, the very next day, Wayne Daniel gets everything ready. I'm down with Wayne. He's getting all the camera ready and everything. And I'm sitting there at the pool, and all of a sudden, Willie walks up, just nonchalant, just like any other guy walk up. He said, "Hey, how you guys doing?" I went, "Oh, fuck." So Wayne says, "Go get Dusty." I said, "Okay." So I knock on Dusty's door. Boom, 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 boom. He said, "It's open." And I go in, and he's in bed. Okay. But he's got his shirt on. He's in bed. And I said, "We're about ready." And he said, "Is Willie down there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Good." And this is the line he hit me with for the first time. He said, "Remember, the big star always walks in last." So he wanted to make sure that Willie was there. I mean, this was classic Dusty, and we loved him for it. He even wanted to make sure that Willie was there first so he could make the dramatic walk-in, right? The star walks in last. And I said, "He's there." And Dusty says, "Okay, let's go." He jumped out of bed, just the shirt on, no underwear on, just naked as he could be. Okay. And I'm thinking, fuck, I'm seeing Dusty Rhodes fucking naked.
Wait, how excited were you to see the Dreams hog? Tell the truth.
Anyway, so he goes and puts on his jeans. And I say, you don't wear underwear? He said, "Hell no, I don't wear underwear." I said, "Okay." So we walked there, and he made his dramatic entrance, and we did the interview. We were we were on set at Tucson. They let us on set, as you saw the clip there. And David Allen Coe was there. And David Allen Coe, I'll never will forget, he had this line, "We'll get you for this." So he delivered his line, "We'll get you for this." And the director said, "Okay, do it one more time." And he went, "We'll get you for this." And he said, "Now with passion, say it with passion." He went, "We'll get you for this." And the director looked around and said, "Okay, cut, that works." Because he knew he wasn't going to get anything more out of David Allen Coe. And we went on one of the tour buses with Chris Christopherson, and we were watching. Willie had a movie called Red-Headed Stranger based on his song. I don't know if that movie ever came out, but we were watching some of that on the bus. And I'm thinking, I'm sitting here on Chris Christopherson's bus right beside him. Willie is right across from me, and there's Dusty, and I'm watching a fucking Willie Nelson movie on this bus. I'm thinking, and it's the first time I've been across the Mississippi. I'm thinking, fucking, this is the greatest life in the world for a fucking little redneck from Virginia.
That's a cool story.
You couldn't beat this.
Yeah.
You could not beat this. It was just, and that's how exciting my life was back in 1986. So, hey, Jesus.
We'll get you for this.
We'll get you for this. Going to get you for this. And I got to see, I didn't meet Johnny Cash, but I got to see him. I got to meet Chris Christopherson. David Allen Coe, as we said, was in it. And I'm not so sure. I don't think Waylon was in it. I'm not so sure. I'm sure it's out there somewhere that you can see the remake of Stagecoach. But when you see David Allen Coe and they leave the bar and he says, "We'll get you for this," remember, he did 3 takes and the last one was with passion.
By the way, those boots that Dusty's wearing, I'm pretty sure Cody has those.
Oh,
I think he posted
cool.
that on social media right when he was leaving WWE and starting his independent journey before AEW.
Mm-hmm.
The classic Austin Hall boots, white with the red trim. I wanted to bring up too, and boy, I know that this is weird to talk about, but man, you got Magnum talking to the race car driver about, man, what a thrill it would be to ride in that car with you.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about his affinity for speed and driving and all that, and knowing later this same year, he's going to have a tragic accident in a Porsche in the rain.
Yeah. Right.
Golly, dude, that was a little haunting to see, was it not?
Yeah, it was. I thought about the same thing when he said that. But it was a good interview with Benny Parsons. He talked about how big a fan his son was, and
oh yeah, he put it over big. And by the way, the race car driver was the one to transition to plugging. Oh, we're going to be right here on TBS in Richmond on February, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I mean, he did a good job, and he got in gimmick. He put on his race car onesie.
Yes. and Benny Parsons no longer with us, but he became, in his later years, which is right here and even further, he raced a little bit. He transitioned to an announcer on TV.
Who's sitting behind you? Who is that in that 3-piece suit?
That's Gaylord Perry.
Tell us about Gaylord Perry.
Gaylord Perry, one of the great baseball pitchers of all time. And I'm going to interview him here on the show. Hall of Famer. And
still with us, 82 years old.
He had a brother, Jim Perry, who pitched to Jim was another good pitcher. I don't think Jim made to the Hall of Fame like Gaylord did, but Gaylord was threw a knuckleball and was a Cy Young. He was a Cy Young Award winner, and I'm not looking it up because I don't know. He was a Cy Young Award winner very late in his career. And I remember him pitching for the Indians, some other teams, but Gaylord was something, man. One of the greats. So anyway, that's Gaylord, and we're going to talk to him later, and of course, it was a thrill for me to be able, a baseball guy, to be able to interview Gaylord. You know what? We tracked one of the clips earlier of us doing commentary, and I thought it was great.
Yep.
As soon as you tracked it, you hear David say, "Look at him."
Yeah.
Listen, you and I talked about this before we rolled tape. David Crockett's commentary really plays well years later.
People give him shit online all the time for not being a great commentator and blah, blah, blah. But I tell you what, you go back and his enthusiasm is what makes it. And so like, even when Joe Rogan did more commentary for the UFC, he was enthusiastic about what he was seeing. And that's half the battle. You're trying to get people excited about what you're seeing. And he pours enthusiasm for this, and it shows you how much he loves it. And I don't know. I think he's been misunderstood, but you go back and you listen to some of this stuff, and sure, he has some crutches here and there. He's not a professional broadcaster. He didn't go to school for it. He didn't get degrees for it, but he loves wrestling, and he knows the storylines, and he knows the guys. And, much like Eric Bischoff trying to do commentary on Nitro, or Vince McMahon trying to do commentary, I think you could put Jim Crockett, or not Jim Crockett, but David Crockett in that same vein. And I think he had more enthusiasm than either of those.
Yeah, sure he did. And for those people who have shit on David Crockett, most of those people who have shit on David Crockett are worthless anyway. But the fact is that it plays well, and David has a lot of fans out there now. I mean, people remember David like they remember me from back in this day when they were young, and it's nostalgia. And David has been with us and has so much love for the business. And it's like Dusty said, and it's when there's JJ.
Hey, who's on your right? It's our left, but your right. You see Bill Apter in the background there taking photos.
Okay.
But he's wearing a headset. He's seated on the opposite side of you. So you've got on your left, you've got David Crockett, and on your right, there's an older fellow wearing a headset. Who is that?
You know what? I don't remember his name, but he was with us every time. He ran camera. He was one of the TBS employees. He was our stage manager at that time.
Okay.
Real tall guy, about 6'6", 6'7", good kid. And I wish I could remember his name because he was a nice guy. I did see Tim Smith, who was one of our cameramen, a longtime cameraman. And I saw Tim. I don't think he's running the camera, but he's helping us out there. But you're talking about the guy with the yellow shirt on right there.
No, not the older guy. I mean, not the black guy, the older guy.
Oh, that's Charlie McGowan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Charlie. That's Charlie. I talked about longtime ring announcer. And
I got you. I didn't know that was him wearing the headset.
Yeah. Charlie was always with us.
Hey, so since you know everything else about ringside, what's in that baby's bottle? It's not white like it's milk. It's a darker color. I know you were there. You probably had a sip, hoping it was whiskey since you were a fucking lush back then.
Okay. No, it was iced tea.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to bring up, motherfucker?
Yeah. The guy in the red shirt here running camera standing by baby doll. Who was that?
Don't know his name. I wish I did. Another TBS guy who was with us for a long time.
The Asian photographer.
Jimmy Suzuki and Bill Apter are there. I know that.
Jimmy Suzuki's the Asian photographer.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
How did I guess that?
So that's why you've become one of the most powerful men in our business.
Let me ask.
Wrestling business.
Shut the fuck up. Is he Jimmy Suzuki? Is that is Jimmy a working name or a shooting name?
I would think it's a shooting name.
No way.
Okay. Okay, then.
I'm just busting balls. How about what a great job our referee here has done. Tommy Young's been such a big part of our show almost from the beginning. And here he is. A minute ago, he was asking Dusty when Dusty was in the figure 4, if he quits, and he kept getting closer and closer and using his hands and being expressive. And Dusty was eventually just like, get the fuck out of here, and pushes him over. And you could see as he's going back from being pushed, just a grin on Tommy's face. Now, obviously, one of the combatants here has pushed him. He's not supposed to be smiling about that, but he can't help but these guys are having fun out here.
Yeah. And let's say something about Tully, man. We've been talking about him, how much we really love him, even more so now.
Oh God. He's on my Mount Rushmore of heels now, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And he's talking to Dusty right there.
Calling spots. Get out there and get after JJ.
Yeah. Because, back then the heel always called the spots.
Yeah.
Even though Dusty was the booker, it was up to the heel to do it. And of course that's obviously changed, but that's the way it was back then. And look at that elbow, man. Tully, again, he was such a phenomenal athlete. He could do so much.
Not a lot of room to operate right there.
Yeah. What's that again?
Not a lot of room to operate right there.
No.
Back in this day, usually there was more space around the ringside area. That's a more modern day setup where the guardrails are tighter and closer to the ring. He's under the ropes, Tully. Come on, man. You can't make a cover there.
Tully, you're not going to see many tope suicidas in a setting like this.
No. And you probably won't see a package pile driver on the apron, which, as you know, is the hardest part of the ring.
Yes. I've been told that by JR.
If you're legally obligated in 2021, if a move happens on the apron, you have to remind the audience at home, that's the hardest part of the ring.
Of course, that's where the boards are. That's where the edge is. It's like a brownie. The hardest part of the brownie is on the outside, which is
do you like the soft part of the brownie or the hard?
No, I like the hard parts.
Yeah. I know you liked it hard.
Tully was such a great athlete, and I may have told this story before, but bear with me. Tully always talked about how stiff Magnum T.A. was in the ring.
Really?
Oh yeah. He said he really, it's not that he didn't enjoy working with him, but he knew that when he was going to face Magnum, it was going to be different. Cause I remember him telling me, he said, Terry Allen basically lift weights and wrestled. That's all he did. That's all he knew. And, so, Tully had been a quarterback and a great athlete. So, to Tully, Magnum was pretty stiff in the ring.
Right.
If you go back and you watch Starrcade 85, which we've done, it's in the archives, you'll see how stiff he was. I mean, he was, wow, look at that, man. Good reaction shot from the cameras. Tommy Edwards being the director here again, doing a good job.
We're going to see a little post-match angle here as well.
I love post-match angles. You know that?
How cool are the boots in this match?
I love them, man. Do you ever ask Tully if he's still got any of his old stuff?
I haven't, but I know for sure that those boots in particular, I believe, are now with a private collector in Virginia. And I think Dusty's, as I said, are with Cody.
Right.
And by the way, when I wished you well and hoped that you were able to keep your job earlier in the show, and you very smart-assly, assured us that was not an issue. I would mind your P's and Q's on here about what you say about Dusty. Cause Cody has a little stroke up there and Cody pushed for you to come in, and if Cody pushes for you to be out, you're out, son.
Well, don't I always talk well about Dusty?
No, you've been very critical on this particular show.
No, you know what? I'm not going to say you a lie. I'm going to say you're a motherfucking liar.
Listen, we're not trying to do as much.
You're a motherfucking liar, piece of shit is what you are for saying that.
You're being very hurtful.
Good. You've become a troll today. You know that?
I've always been a troll, Tony. I was born a troll. Trolls aren't made. Trolls are born.
I just sent Lauren a text that I said, Lauren, your name's been brought up on this edition. She went, shit.
Well, I'll tell you what, she's in the group chat all the time. She's not even in the group chat, but old Super Dave is going to fuck around and create 2 divorces. I mean, every time there is a live event on adfreeshows.com, I mean, every time.
Yeah.
He's like logging in going, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy, hoping it's not fucking Bromwell and hoping it's Lauren Yaffe. And then if it is, he'll report back to the group chat. She got them things out. And so it's like, Pondwater, we got shit going on, man. Like, we're still at work. What are you doing? But he's going to drop everything. If he's just hoping one day one of them Browns is going to slip out, I guess.
He's just being a creeper. Well, there you go.
And how about the pile driver? Man, what a pile driver that was.
Wow, man. That was, buddy.
Dude, that was a hell of a pile driver. And you see so let's tell you what's going on here. This is a 20-minute time limit draw, and they're going to leave with the national title. But he didn't win. It's a time limit draw.
And look at the reaction of Tommy Young.
Let's track a little bit.
A time limit draw.
All right, let's go back and watch the pile driver, and we'll see why Dusty is still laying there.
Now Dusty is still the champion with this vicious attack.
I see. All right, JJ directed him. He said, pile driver, look at Tully has him, starts, and watch him fall, drives that head right into the mat.
The TV time limit had expired. The time limit had expired. Referee Tommy Young has declared the match a draw. Dusty Rhodes is still the national heavyweight champion.
You heard it. Okay, fans, we have some more special guests, some very special announcements, and Ric Flair and Ron Garvin when we come back.
Hall of Famer Teddy Long there as well.
Dude, how about Teddy Long's hair up there?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. I didn't know black dudes could have skullets, but Teddy Long found a way. And here's Jim Crockett and Magnum T.A. Here we go.
Jim Crockett Jr.
Thank you, Magnum. It's a pleasure being here tonight.
Well, 1985 was certainly a very big year for Jim Crockett Promotions. We saw a great many events that will be institutionalized, and I'm sure we'll see again in 1986. The Starrcade events were spectacular. The Great American Bash was certainly one that really stood out in my mind, and I'm sure in the minds of the fans, was the Bunkhouse Stampedes.
The first annual Bunkhouse Stampede was very special to us. It took 10 days, but we found out who the toughest man in wrestling was.
Well, I can certainly attest to the fact that it took a lot of wind out of a lot of people's sails. It's real easy to talk about who the baddest man around is, but when you throw 20 men in the ring at one time, you certainly found out. Now, I know your father, Jim Crockett Sr., had a great deal to do with revolutionizing professional wrestling. Some 50 years now, y'all have been producing wrestling shows. You've been bringing the top wrestling talent all over the world now. And I realize that there's been a great many events, but I know there's a very special event that you want to bring for 1986, and that will be the Memorial Cup.
That's right. This is our 51st year of promoting professional wrestling. The National Wrestling Alliance Board of Directors has honored a man that I think is the greatest man in the world. That's my father. They have sanctioned the first tag team tournament by the National Wrestling Alliance, and they have honored us and my father by calling it the Jim Crockett Sr. Memorial Cup. This will be a one-night tournament with teams from all over the world, and we're certainly hoping that Charlotte, North Carolina will be the home of the first Jim Crockett Memorial Cup.
Well, I can certainly understand that, but I realize that the arenas all over the country are right now putting in their bids to have this event in their part of the country. I think we have a special interview right now with the people in New Orleans at the Superdome because they would like to have this very prestigious event right there in New Orleans.
Bob, it's a pleasure to be here at the Superdome. I know you and your staff are just as excited about bringing the first annual Jim Crockett Sr. Memorial Cup Tag Team Tournament to the Superdome as we here at Mid-South are. And with $1 million as the purse and with all the international stars included, we feel that this is going to be on par with some of the greatest sporting events of our time.
Well, we agree, and anybody that's in the facility business knows the reputation of Bill Watts and Jim Crockett and the wrestling events that they promote and stage in the country. And we're looking forward to it and from preliminary talks with your people and the Crockett people, we think that this will be an athletic event on par with any in the country. We're very pleased that you're considering using the Superdome, and we intend to be in their bidding against all the other facilities in the country who would also be interested in hosting that event. We at the Superdome feel that we have the finest sports facility in the world, most recently playing host to the Super Bowl 20. That was the third Super Bowl to be held here, and we have another one scheduled in 1990. Also, we annually host the Sugar Bowl, the Bayou Classic, the world's largest carnival celebration indoors. We have held championship boxing matches as well as other spectacular championship wrestling matches. We certainly feel that the only place in the world to have the inaugural Jim Crockett Sr. Memorial Cup Tag Team Championship Tournament would be in the Louisiana Superdome, and we certainly intend to be in their bidding against the other facilities in the country.
Well, Bob, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Mid-South would like to wish you a very happy 1986, and we look forward to continuing our relationship with the Superdome and its fine staff in bringing the greatest sporting events in the world right here to New Orleans.
Jim Crockett, it's been a real pleasure having you here, talking to you, talking about all the accomplishments in the past and all the things we have to look forward to in the future for 1986. I want to thank you for being here. And I think we want to go ringside right now with Tony Schiavone, who's got a very special guest down there, Gaylord Perry.
What a great night it's been so far here on Superstars on the Superstation. And we've had legends here like Willie Nelson, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. We have another legend in the world of baseball. I'm very happy to have with me Gaylord Perry. In 1982, Gaylord Perry became the 15th man to win 300 games as a career as a pitcher. And also, he is third on the all-time strikeout list. Great night, Gaylord. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Tony. It's a lot of action down here, I tell you that. The tag teams, they just put on a great show. They really did. It was some great entertainment, and it's good to get down here, and I'm going to check in with the Atlanta Braves tomorrow, just see how they're going to be. You know, they start March 15th is the first game that will be on TV, and the season open comes April 8th. They'll be playing the Philadelphia Phillies, and I do want to wish the Atlanta Braves the best of luck, especially Bobby Cox and Chuck Tanner and my buddy Rick Kemp.
Well, of course, all of that will be right here on the Superstation. And from Eastern North Carolina, you made it to the big leagues, the big time. A lot of these wrestlers wrestle around the entire country. And you know how it is to have to stay in shape and have to be on the top of your game at all times.
I surely do. I know it takes a great deal, and they do this all year. At least when I played, I had 3 months off. I could rest up, but they do it around 350 times a year, I understand.
Okay, we still have Ric Flair, the world heavyweight champion, coming up against Ron Garvin. And as you know and all the fans know, Ric Flair is quite a champion. He's the champion of the world, and that's quite a position to have.
Yes, it is, and I'm sure he's worked very hard at it, and I know he'll be out there defending that title tonight and want to keep it.
Okay, Gaylord, thank you very much for stopping by. Always a pleasure having you with us here on the Superstation.
Thank you, Tony.
Dude, how fucking monumental and historic is it? We just saw the announcement of the first ever Crockett Cup. This is big time shit, man.
Yeah. And Joe Watts never knew how to tie a tie. He didn't.
No.
Yeah. You go back to Mid-South Wrestling sometime and watch the on-camera stuff. There's been a couple times his tie was outside of his coat. It was.
One of the other sons of Bill Watts. Of course, we're all familiar with Eric Watts, and we see now Truck and Tom Miller is about to introduce Ron Garvin, and let's see what kind of pop he gets.
In at 232 pounds, Ron Garvin.
Pretty good ovation. Now they're going to introduce Ric Flair, and what a robe he's wearing here. You've seen it on most of our shows where we've been doing video here on adfreeshows.com, hanging in my background. Here we go. Let's track it. See what kind of pop the Nate gets.
Boy, Ric Flair.
Oh, they muted it. How about that? It's like the opposite of what they used to do for Roman Reigns.
Wow.
I did not pull the volume down. They just cut it out.
Wow.
There you see the World's Heavyweight Championship. Rick in all green, got the green boots on and green tights on, and the 10 pounds of gold. It's probably some of the best condition Rick was ever in right there.
Oh yeah. He was in great shape. And I know this is going to be a high impact match. I want to say something about the Crockett Cup.
Yeah.
The cup that they showed the picture of.
Yes.
That cup had been with the Crockett's for a number of years, and it was just a big silver cup.
Yep.
It had no inscription on it. They finally made the inscription, and just when the Charlotte O's that I was doing play-by-play for won the Southern League Championship, which is, as far as you can go in AA, the Southern League Championship in Charlotte, Doug Dillinger walked out with that cup and presented it to our manager, John Hart. And I remember the report from Tom Sorensen said, the Charlotte O's won it. They celebrated, and a big old policeman carrying a big old cup came out and gave them their championship. And that was not the Southern League Championship. That is just Francis Crockett being a promoter, right?
Yeah.
We're going to work this. We've got this big cup that we've had for a while. Let's bring it out and hand it. And the fans popped when he walked out with the cup.
Right.
And so I thought it was interesting that the Southern League Championship Cup, which was just kind of I don't know where they got it. They finally found a use for it in the Crockett Cup tournament. Is the Crockett Cup tournament available?
Yeah, we're going to be watching it here this year on What Happened When.
Some great stuff. I mean, Tiger Mask and Giant Baba was in it. The Sheep Herders were in it.
Dude, we're going to have a lot of fun in 86. I mean, we've still got, the debut of the Big Gold Belt, which is coming up later this month. We've got the incredible Great American Bash Tour. We've got the Night of the Skywalkers coming up at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Of course, as you said, the Crockett Cup. Unfortunately, we also are going to talk about Magnum T.A. a lot. Not only the best of 7 series, but the tragic accident. There's so much going on here. This is a very monumental year, and we're glad to be able to cover it here on a week-to-week basis. And fans are falling in love with 1986 all over again, or for the very first time. As we have mentioned here a few times over the last month or so, we took a lot of criticism online with people who really wanted us to continue our sort of ADD wrestling journey where we're bouncing around and watching a little WWF and a little WCW and a little ECW, and instead going with the same old school stuff. But we've introduced a lot of fans to Crockett Promotions for the very first time, and they're loving it. And there's so much to love in 86, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah. And if you read the notes that we put up when we put up the, post the show on Patreon on Mondays, or of course, Westwood One on Wednesdays. If you read the show notes, I put in there, and I wrote this: if you ever wondered why you fell in love with wrestling in the first place, it's 1986.
Yeah.
And I really think so. I think this was, now 85 was a special year for me because it was my first year on TBS, but 86 was the year. And it's just, you if you're a wrestling fan, you just, and you don't love this stuff, then you're not a wrestling fan. You're not.
Well said.
So, and I know wrestling has changed. I love every bit of it. I love the old school stuff. I love watching the old school stuff, and I love the new stuff. So there you go. And look at Ronnie just laying him in here and slapping him in the face. Okay. Flair going to take a bump.
Man, how great was the chemistry with these two guys? I know that, listen, I've been critical of the decision to put the belt on Ron Garvin in 87. And if we keep this going for next year, and that's certainly a consideration, we'll get into it. But boy, the chemistry he has with Ric Flair is phenomenal.
Yeah. Ronnie had a bad back too. In 87, he had a bad back. And I remember he had a match in Johnson City, Tennessee with Ric Flair. We were there. We did a TV taping there, and then Flair and Garvin had the main event. And Garvin's back was so bad and hurting him so bad, but Flair coached him up. And I remember being right at ringside because I did the ring announcing for the final match. And I remember hearing Flair say, "You can do it. You can do it." Just, if you're close, you know what's going on, you could hear it. And they just had, not only they had great chemistry, they had a great working relationship. I don't know what Flair says now about Ronnie Garvin, but it has to be nothing but good stuff.
Oh, it's always complimentary of his in-ring work. And he thought that he was ready for prime time. And then we'll say, I guess I was wrong, but Flair was a big advocate for Garvin back then because he knew they had great matches, and he's exactly right. Hey, what do you think of Rick's boots here? It's a little bit of a departure for him. I mean, I guess it's not. Back then he was a little more experimental, but eventually he settled in on one color and then, a different color RF. He's got a lot of inserts here. So there's lots of different design elements It's not your standard Flair boot. And it's a little weird to see, if I'm honest. I mean, I know that he was trying stuff and he did that a lot in his early days, but I'm just used to the traditional classic RF and that's it. And he's doing something a little different here.
Yeah, he's doing it different. He's trying to be color coordinated here, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
With the boots and the knees and there you see it. Yeah, look at that. He's got it looks like a white teardrop almost with an RF on it.
Yeah, and there's like multiple like shades of green. It's a different deal for him. We're used to just the one solid color kind of deal and different presentation.
Yeah, I wonder how many times he wore this. I wonder if this was just special for this show because this is the forerunner to Clash of the Champions.
I think when he wrestled down in Championship Wrestling from Florida later this month, I guess a week after this aired, he did Battle of the Belts 2 down there and wrestled Barry Windham in what Dave Meltzer called the best hour in the history of wrestling television. Or maybe it was a 2-hour show and they win an hour. I forget, but Meltzer called it, one of the best shows in wrestling television history. And it's because they gave Barry Windham and Ric Flair a ton of time. And that's when Rick debuted the big gold belt for the very first time. And he had on the exact same outfit that he has here, the green robe, the green boots, the green trunks. But I'm excited to see the debut of the big gold belt, not just because, I'm a big mark for it because I have it, but the idea that it was such a departure from the classic NWA championship that we had grown up with Jack Briscoe and Terry Funk and Dusty Rhodes and Harley Race. And now you go to this, such a different presentation, an oversized belt by comparison. But at the time, in all the wrestling magazines, the AWA's showing off their championship belt and it's gigantic. So Crockett wants to make sure that he's got, a belt befitting the world champion. And that means bigger than the AWA.
Mm-hmm. Man, look at this. They're slugging it out here.
Big time.
I mean, they are slugging it out. And we're talking about, we're talking about just beating the shit out of each other.
Up and over he goes.
Mm-hmm.
And now Flair is splattered out on the floor next to Truckin' Tom Miller, who's trying to scoot out of the way. Yeah, we'll track some of those chops when they start trading them again. Yeah. They get plenty of time here, for a TV match. They're going to go 14 minutes and 33 seconds. I should mention the next day, there's 2 shows happening. One in Saginaw, Michigan, with Flair and Ron Garvin again. Also the Road Warriors on the undercard. Meanwhile, believe it or not, in Greenville, South Carolina, the Rock and Rolls and the Midnights are going to go in a 2 out of 3 falls match to a 60-minute time limit draw. So I guess they're probably 1 fall apiece and time expires. It's pretty remarkable to think how many time limit draws you had back then, but that was sort of the way the business was done.
Yeah. And exactly. That's the way it was done. And sometimes if you have a time limit draw and you give them a great match, fans are not so pissed off about it.
I'm really glad that we called an audible and we're watching Superstars on the Superstation. And I'm really thankful that it's on the WWE Network, or if you're listening to this in the future, it's on, as Tony calls it, the cock. But I like that we sort of see payoffs for what we've been seeing on TV. We've been building towards these, and now we get to see the culmination. And don't forget, the very next day after this aired, because this aired on a Friday night, later than normal, I think it was 10 p.m. Eastern. So it's a late Friday night show here on TBS on the Superstation. And of course, the following morning, after this aired, is when they'll record the 605 show. Man, is Saturday 605? Is that that's synonymous with wrestling, is it not?
It's it. It is absolutely it.
I even thought about, once upon a time, we should have a Saturday 605 show.
You mean a live thing?
No, I mean we should have some sort of podcast that drops on Saturday at 605. It's just synonymous with wrestling.
There you go. Got any ideas?
No, but I do want to welcome to the family. We do have some new things going on at adfreeshows.com. Of course, this past week we debuted the new Chris Hero podcast that we're calling Can Chris Hero Save Wrestling? And it's free for everyone over at adfreeshows.com. It's not behind the paywall. So if you haven't joined us yet on adfreeshows.com, or you think maybe, you got to go sign up and spend money and I don't really want to do that, you don't have to spend anything. We've got new content every single day, free for everyone, including the exclusive new podcast, Can Chris Hero Save Wrestling? It got high marks. If you're interested in WWE developmental and the way NXT works, that was our subject for week 1. And I'm happy to say, and I think you'll dig this, Tony, we're paying tribute to Tracy Smothers on week 2.
Very good.
So later you'll be able to check that out over at adfreeshows.com. Or actually, by the time you hear this, it's available now. Our tribute to Tracy at adfreeshows.com.
Very cool.
Irish whip here, into the corner, up and over the old Ray Stevens bump. Oh, back into the ring.
Yeah, man.
Still selling. That looks like Ric Flair after Wendy gets done with him, huh? Just
Please,
bobbling that head.
Please, I'll take out the garbage.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll take out the garbage when I tell you to take out the garbage. So, you know what? What I'm thinking about here is how much wrestling was an art form. And I say that because they're calling spots, but you can't tell it.
Right.
And that's phenomenal.
Some of it's probably too, just familiarity.
Yeah.
You know, like Rick has said before that when he would wrestle Steamboat, they wouldn't have to call a lot of spots. Like they were so familiar with each other. It would be one of these deals. And you can see me, Tony. And by the way, the video for this show is available at adfreeshows.com, but he would just look at Steamboat and go like this. And Steamboat knew what that meant.
Right.
Like just darting your eyes up to the top right-hand corner, just look up and to the right, and Steamboat knew exactly what that meant. That's when you know you're in sync with your partner, your opponent, your dancing partner here.
Yeah.
What a great spot that was. You don't see that very often anymore, but boy, that was a staple of wrestling.
Yep.
Powering up and then trying to get that backslide. I love a good backslide. We need more backslides in wrestling.
I love backslides. Love backslides. And I'm sure Pondwater Dave does too.
Oh, I'm sure if Lauren Yaffe had a backslide, he'd want to see it.
Pondwater Dave. You think he grew a beard just for Lauren?
Dude, he's going to try whatever look it takes to get her attention. You know, it got so heated that Lauren Yaffe's husband had to call Pondwater, tell him to come fucking knock it off, cool down.
Wow.
Like this thing's going to end in like there's going to be you know that show 48 Hours on TV where something bad happens and they got to investigate it.
Yeah.
There's going to be a Pondwater 48 Hours. In a love triangle with the flaming hot Cheetos, fanatic wrestling fans, married couples, and a man with a golden eye.
He lost his thumb one day. He had it surgically repaired. Was she the nurse at the hospital that day? Did that begin the relationship?
You know the story about how he lost his thumb in New Orleans, right?
There can't be a good story. There's no good story about losing your thumb.
Well, he didn't actually lose it, but it looked like he was gonna.
Okay.
We go to this fancy restaurant. It's WrestleMania weekend in New Orleans a few years ago, and Big Booty Judy's with Cassio, and of course I have my lovely wife Megan, and Super Dave comes and brings his pal, and they make me put on a jacket, right? So I know this is a type of restaurant you wear a jacket to, but when I sit down, I take my jacket off and put it on the back of my chair, and they come over and they say, no, you got to put your jacket back on. I have to wear the jacket during dinner. Yes.
Oh,
okay.
Good God.
One of those type places. I'm just giving you some context.
Okay.
So it's candlelit and everyone's in hushed tones. And, so they bring out the menu and, of course we all ask, hey, what are the specials? Like, what would you recommend? Like, what's the thing to get? And the lady really puts over the sizzling oysters. And of course, Pondwater gets all excited and he's ready for that. Oh, and here we see, wait, check this out. Man, he had him knocked out stone cold. And referee Tommy Young's on the outside. Let's track it here. Let's see what's going to happen.
There goes the champion. Turn around, Ron. Well, it was too late. Rick goes down. Desperation pin. Hey, Tommy. His foot was on the rope. His foot was on the rope. What are you doing? Tommy Young. Tommy. His foot was on the rope. Shut up. What do you mean? His foot was on the rope.
You've certainly seen a lot of exciting wrestling right here tonight. And I know Linda's just as excited about all of it as I've been, but we've got to go for now. So for Linda Curry and Magnum T.A. in the Superstation, I'd like to say good night.
Good night.
So what'd you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. What'd you think of Superstars on the Superstation?
Thumbs up. I liked it. I liked how we sprinkled in celebrities with some very good wrestling. And you know what? You had a finish. It was a fuck finish, but you didn't have a DQ or anything like that, right?
No, I liked that it was a finish, and I liked that it was a heel deal. He put the foot on the ropes, but Rick pulled it off and hooked the leg. And then when the announcer is trying to alert the referee, Flair, shut up.
Yes.
So great.
It's great. Okay. So,
oh yeah. So the sizzling oysters,
sizzling. Okay.
Eventually they come out, and man, it's a presentation. You know how when you go to like a nice Mexican restaurant and they have fajitas on the menu, they're going to bring you 19 little things. Like here's your tortillas and here's your cheese, and you got to make your own shit. So they bring all the kit out. But then they bring this pan that's on fucking fire, and it's got sizzling onions and meat and peppers and all that. But it's like the most asshole thing ever, because first of all, you're going to make everybody at the table stink, because there is just this, I mean, I can't even describe the smokestack that goes through the restaurant, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Sure.
So they do this with the sizzling oysters, and they sit them down in front, and man, it's got everybody's attention, because here comes a fucking little choo-choo train all the way through the restaurant. And it's a big presentation. And Pondwater Dave is so excited. He's been driving all day from Mississippi, and now he's here in New Orleans, and he's ready for supper, man. So this is the first thing they present, and he can't wait to dive in. So as soon as they sit those sizzling oysters down, those are his. He knows those are his. He didn't order them for the table. Those are Pondwater Dave's. And he reaches out to grab the oyster. Let me add context again. They made me put my jacket on. It's candlelight, and everyone is talking like this. Our special today, and our chef is prepared. I'm not exaggerating. Just that loud, just that immediate. And it's like a fucking cartoon. He pulls his finger back. He pulls his hand back and shows us his thumb. And it is a Fred Flintstone. Like you can see the blood pulsing through. You know his heartbeat. I knew how many BPMs there was right then, because I could see it very cartoon-like in his thumb. And me and Cassio look at each other, and then Judy, and then Megan, and we're all like, what the fuck just happened? And he yells, that shit's hot. And again, me and Cassio are just slack-jawed as a motherfucker. Like, you ordered something called sizzling oysters.
You reached for them.
There's smoke all over the restaurant. They're so hot. They're on fire. It's called sizzling. That's the name of it. And there's smoke all over our table. And you just touched it. It was unbelievable.
Oh, what a story.
My point is, Pondwater Dave, not the smartest guy I'm friends with, but he ain't scared of shit. And this whole thing with Lauren Yaffe is gonna end in an episode of 48 hours. And by the way, I don't know if this is the same lady or not, but speaking of murder mysteries, Linda Curry, when you Google her name, you see a story about someone who died way too young, and there was a lot of investigative journalism and stories written on it, and it's a mystery. But I hope we get to find out more about her. But this was a fun episode of Superstars on the Superstation as we continue our journey through 1986.
I think it's great. You know, you and I were talking about that we were going to go ahead one week because I guess the episode on the 6th?
The first.
I don't know. The first episode on the first was not available on the network, and then you got in touch with me and said, hey, we got Superstars on the Superstation. I thought, wow, what a great show for us to continue the stories that are going on here during Jim Crockett Promotions in 1986. Interesting to see where we do what we come out of it with now. You know, is Ronnie Garvin still going to talk about Ric Flair? Or is that gone?
Right.
But you know, they did these things to build the house shows. And I'm sure Flair and Garvin are still going to be on house shows. But it'd be interesting to see where they're going from there. So,
well, we'll be back next week, of course, and it's going to be all about World Championship Wrestling from February 8th. So, as a reminder, it aired a date after, or one day after this aired, and on that show, we've got the 6-man tag team champions. Of course, the Russians are going to be there. We're going to also have the Road Warriors around, Dusty Rhodes, Baby Doll, Nikita, of course, he's going to be hanging around. Ron Garvin is going to be in action. So we're going to be back on track next week here, February 8th, 1986. But right now, Tony, it looks like it's about that time.
this matchup is going to be one-on-one. Pondwater Dave against Nick Yaffe, the husband of Lauren Yaffe, and the special referee is Matt Kuhn, who's just back, by the way, I should say, from injury. And Pondwater Dave swings Wally. Oh, and the thumb flies off. The reattached thumb flies off, and it is in the stands, but no one is looking because Matt Kuhn is showing everybody his scar. Matt, we don't want to see your fucking scar. Please. Not on TV, not on social media. We're desperately out of time. See you next week on What Happened When. On Wednesdays, we're on Westwood One, but Mondays, we're on
Patreon. Patreon.com/WHW Monday. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.